What's good? Welcome back to Agitator. Nikki and I are here with Joseph Minion, writer of Motorama, After Hours, Vampire's Kiss.
Any
We
of
are
those.
we're really Nikki and I Nikki got me hip to Motorama, and as of 4 o'clock this morning when I got up to watch it in preparation, I'm maybe equally obsessed. I don't know. He's obsessed with it. I think it's a masterpiece, but we're here with the man himself to get to dive right into it. So
Yeah,
Joseph, thanks for
Oh
coming
yeah.
on.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
I mean, I have a pretty good memory about certain things. I mean, I'm not anywhere the same person I was when I wrote it, but I do remember. Uh, I remember where I was living. I was living on the Upper West Side. I was living in a sublet. When I started it, uh, I think I actually worked on it a little bit in London, and I feel like maybe even in LA when I was visiting someone. Yeah, I remember that now. On Kingsley Street, my friend Kiko let me stay at her place, and I had brought it and was working on it. So I guess yeah, there are three different locations, and I started it in New York, and um, I think about like some of my influences. I mean, film-wise, this might sound crazy. Well, not if I explain it a little bit, but I think one influence on it was They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Which is I think a great movie, and I love that film, and I just remember being so convinced of its very pessimistic view of society by the end when they are told that even if they win the $1,500, most of it is going to be taken away because of the winners have to pay for their bed and board. And that's sort of like the equivalent of, oh, you're just eligible, you even if you win. That just the fine print. I just thought that was like, yeah, that makes sense. It was like that kind of when you first told that Santa Claus doesn't exist, and you sort of knew it, but then it's like you get the confirmation by somebody, and you're like, of course, like this kind of rock bottom reality of, well, what did you think? And then later on in They Shoot Horses, and they're leaning against the railing, and she just says, "Oh, it's all rigged." I think the Michael Saracen character asks her, what are you going to do now? Maybe go back into acting, and she's like, "Nah, I'll never make it." It's just like it's the central casting has got it all rigged. As a matter of fact, that's really the way the whole world is, and that rang true to me. So as I guess that very cynical just view of the way things are baked in um, probably was an influence. Yeah. But also, I remember, I mean, I'm sure this was an influence because I've been obsessed with this film ever since I saw it in college. Um, Completely different type of film. Oh, Lucky Man by Lindsay Anderson. This is the first film that I actually stood up and applauded at the end of the movie in college, seeing it. I don't know. This film to me just was so mind blowing. Not to everybody, but I've always loved it, and it has a kind of road movie premise. I guess it's a coffee salesman, and it's a kind of tough education about life. It's also kind of stylized. It doesn't have both feet planted in realism, and I never did with my stuff. I'm always sort of in some sort of manufactured reality of my own mind. Um, and So I was just another, and strangely, this, this is going to sound like very highbrow, but I mean, I'll admit that I was trying to kind of give things a Kafka. Kafka wrote like these three novels that they're great. They're all great. They're all kind of unfinished, but the last one I think actually is finished. It was America,
Yeah.
and he never came to America, but he's made it up in his mind, and it's a weird kind of texture to it. And I remember that there's this kind of alienated thing going on, feeling that I completely related to in all his stuff, like so many people have, um, and I still do. Um, and so there was that. It's funny. I remember. You just do the best you can. At any point when you're writing something, and this film was invited to a film festival in Italy, the Pescara Film Festival. And it's known for them inviting writers instead of the directors. So I was like, yeah, great. And it's Italy. So they had a Q&A at the festival, as they do. This woman asked, oh, why are we watching such a silly story? I mean, with all that's going on in the world, everything that's going on in the world, I don't even remember exactly what was going on in the world in 1992, but let's face it, there's always something going on in the world, always. Anyway, to kind of spend your time doing this silly little kid, and I forget what I said to her, and I think I probably sounded kind of mealy-mouthed and unconvincing. I was trying to kind of respond, but as time has gone by, I've thought about that woman and that question, and I think what I would say to her now is like what I was trying to kind of get in there, subconsciously at least, is like, you trying to at any point in your life when you write something, as you guys know, is put as much as you know about the world. I mean, as far as just like wisdom or your take on things, like what's really the bottom line, what's really going down. So I already sensed, not that I was just ahead of my age to sense this about people, but I definitely sense this one reality about the world is that people are driven, often to the point of like wasting their lives. Like they have to get this one. It's like the ego, it's like, all right, it kind of serves us. It kind of is the thing that kind of, I get all that kind of spurs you on, but it's also the worst thing that could destroy you. And as people do spend their lives just obsessively going after stuff like, the white whale, whatever. And I noticed that, and I guess I wanted to imbue the story with that pathetic kind of reality about people. And another thing I was already sensing about people, um, at whatever age I was, 26 when I wrote it, I don't know, remember, was, people don't really see you. People don't see you. People don't. They see them. They're always talking about themselves, even if they're talking and they're sort of not really listening to you, and they're waiting for you to stop talking so they can say what they want to say. I mean, once in a while you have your special friends and they're very special, and a lot of people pay therapists to avoid that. But basically, it's hard to be seen. I noticed that already, that people are hard. It's hard for people to really see other people, and that is the whole thread of the 10-year-old being able to kind of get through this whole journey without being stopped, with only being called on it once, or twice, to me, paralleled reality, which is like, how many I could count on your, fingers of one hand, even in my late 20s or whatever, how old I was, how many people have really, really seen me. It still goes on, and I'm sure it happens to everybody. I know it does. So I would have said to that woman, well, yeah, I guess it's silly. It's a road movie, and he's playing this game, but I do think there's some, serious adult problems and realities that we're all experiencing all the time, which is that some people are just driven for, because they're told they want to get this thing, and another thing is that you could be walking down the street naked in New York and no one really care, because people just are into themselves. People are. So I stand by those two premises or observations that are sort of winnowing through that story. But I didn't have the I didn't consciously think of that during that Q&A, and I forget what I said. Probably sounded stupid, but
Wait, so what exactly did she say to you again? You sort of cut
she
out
said,
when you
"Why would
said
you?"
that part.
Basically, with everything going on in the world, I guess she wanted like a movie like Come and See or some like
Oh, okay.
really you know, and this was a movie that was a fantasy that was so not real that it was like frivolous, I guess. I guess that was
Yeah,
the
but
accusation.
emotionally, it's like it's a very like I would say like one of the like best movies about like childhood trauma ever I've ever seen in a way that is like I don't know, very because I think the more absurd and surreal types of storytelling can really, if you do it right and a good writer, as I think you are, um, can really ha like um elevate that type of writing and or that type of world because the opening where he's like making the stilts or whatever to actually drive the car is like it's such it gives you everything you need to know just the way the parents are fighting and it's just so real. He doesn't even say anything. He just you know everything from that moment. You know pretty much all
Mm.
you need to know about his life and it's so good. I rewatched it today and I was like, damn, that is really good. And so it's kind of funny she would say that because if she watched it, she would real. I don't know. I feel like this is about like it's about a child who had to grow up so quick and
Yeah.
don't you think that's important? Like this woman, like I don't know. I think it's a very like I don't know, could be there up with come and see. No, we're not, and obviously it's doing a very different thing, but Gus goes through like horrible, like, circumstances in this movie, but the way it's presented, it has absurd and silly characters and is in this, alternate world, which I love. It, if you're not,
Mm.
if that vibe doesn't catch you, that like, yeah, you might miss that, and maybe that's what she did, but I don't know.
I don't know, like there's always people cranks or people that complain. I mean, that's like, that's just the way it is. And she had her opportunity to say something at a Q&A, and that's fine. But that was her question. That was the essence of it. But I'm glad you picked up on that. I really am. I mean, because I do think a lot of my stuff comes out of kind of a trauma feeling, and
Yeah,
mm,
it felt like the most autobiographical. It just
yeah,
felt like, damn. I was like, I watched it with my girlfriend, and she was like, this feels like she. Before I even
mm,
said anything about it, she was like, this feels like something you would write. Like, obviously, you know what I mean. Just like coming from a similar, just like strain or, and that that was a compliment because
yeah.
I thought this movie was amazing and I actually like really like all your movies that I've seen a lot and I think you are really good and it's rare to find a writer who's good and we talk about this on this podcast all the time and I think Kelby is good at it and then the other co-host who couldn't make it tonight David is also good at this um just writing surrealism and absurdism in a way that isn't like stupid you know what I mean for but lack of a better term like and I think you were like yeah one of mine I just very good at it in all three of your movies. In all three of your movies that I've seen and that audiences would or listeners would know pretty well. And I think it's all in three different ways, which is really three, slightly different ways, which is really interesting. Like Vampire's Kiss is like absurd in like a dark way. Like that's probably like people often when they talk about a movie is like talk about how silly it is, but I thought the movie was like really dark to me. Like it was like very like it felt like a like something bad happens in your life and you totally lose it and it just takes it to like the absurd degree and I like that a lot and After Hours is a more like traditionally Kafkaesque movie maybe I guess if you want to say that just because of the like it's like bam 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 after like but it's still
Hmm.
awesome and works really it's also very has its but what I'm trying to say is like all three are and I know I can only imagine like some of them maybe isn't exactly what you wanted, but it was just I watched all three fairly recently after you said you wanted to come on and I asked and it was really cool because it felt like I was like oh yeah these at least elements of these are all coming from the same mind as I felt you know
Yeah, well, I again, I appreciate it. I appreciate you saying that, and I would agree. I think all my scripts, I got a lot more unproduced scripts, and
Yeah.
they all feel to me the product of the same mind.
Is
Those
you said Kafka was I was thinking that, that was there any authors like him or in that realm that were also influential to
a
you?
big one is I would say the one that probably is the most directly influential is Nathaniel West.
Really? I don't
I
think I've
love him. I
read.
mean, I wish he'd lived longer. He didn't get that fucking car accident, uh, but it's only cranked out four. But
Oh, right. He did Dave the Locust. Damn. Have you
Miss
read any of
Lonely
him,
Hearts.
Kelby?
No, I've not. I actually have a couple of Nathaniel West on the shelf, but that's a blind spot that I need to get to. And
Yeah,
now
Oh,
that
me
it's
too.
amazing.
Me too.
I
What's your
mean,
favorite of his?
my favorite is Miss Lonely Hearts. I think it's the deepest. It's like so tortured. It is so tortured. But I also right up there is The Day of the Locust. I'm not a. There's one that he wrote called The Dream Life of Balzo Snell, which even for me, it's too Dadaist, and I'm not into it. And then there's one I wrote he wrote called A Cool Million, which my friend Drew thought I was influenced by for writing Motorama, but I hadn't even read A Cool Million because A Cool Million is actually it's a road story with all these
Cool.
kind of crazy characters, but I hadn't even been familiar with it, so it wasn't. But it's all right. It's not as good as Miss Lonely Hearts is awesome. It's like one of the greatest American novels ever written. It's short. Um,
Hmm.
Another great American writer to me is well, you didn't ask about them having to be American, but she's also American. Is Flannery O'Connor also died
oh
too young.
yes.
Yeah, Flannery
Um,
O'Connor and uh Carson McCullers are two of my favorites of that ilk.
yeah. I even loved her incredible book of letters, which I read decades ago, which is just good for writers to read. It's a lot of really interesting tidbits about writing in that huge collection of letters. I was going to say something else about Nathaniel West. He's awesome. Uh, oh yeah, yeah. This is just I just thought it's like just a brain fart that came to me as I was remembering him. But I lived in LA in the '90s, and you know, Nathaniel West is dark. Like dark things happen. As in most great books, right? It's like kind of unhappy stuff happens. Very dark and sinister stuff happens. So it's so stupid. There was some sort of LA magazine supplement or some Sunday LA Times, whatever, literary section, and some women were interviewing each other. They were like young women, obviously, talking about how unhip Nathaniel West would be now. He'd be run out of town on a rail. Why? Because he's like just this oversensitive, nerdy. I don't. They were just like using all this like stuff because basically he seemed to be to them a downer. Like
Mm.
it's like he was a downer because you know, I mean, incredibly horrific things happen in this guy's books. And I sort of got, I mean, it made me love him even more. This was like in the '90s, and made me think, this is where we're at. Like whoever is allowing these women to kind of be saying this stuff in some respectable publication, just dissing, Kanye West for these unbelievably superficial reasons because he can't just go to a gym or something to work out his problems. I remember that. I remember thinking, like, boy, we're not in Kansas anymore. I mean, metaphorically.
Mhm.
Anyway, I mean, it seems to me like the beginning of maybe not the very beginning, but another evidence of a decline of something where even it's not relegated to some little you know discussion in the girls bathroom. It's actually in an LA publication that we're supposed to be taking him seriously, that he was an inferior man that would not be desirable for women. I think it was all about, of course, it had to do with like sex and the sex appeal, because he wrote unbelievably sad, horrific tales. So I just remembered that. I remember that distinctly. There have been many other examples of that. I don't know if you've ever read Tom Wolfe's great novel, I Am Charlotte Simmons. Did you ever read that one?
No, I've
Oh,
never read any Tom Wolfe. Have you, Kelby?
oh, he's great. His stuff is so great. But anyway, that novel also tackles this, what he saw as the subject I just talked about, like this sense of the 2000s and beyond becoming a time when, standards were dropping and then people were forgetting higher purpose. There's nothing left, and then there's nothing left to kind of pick you out of it. So even a sharp gal like Charlotte Simmons, you could see she could have really made something. She starts to sink into the quicksand of the culture. Anyway, it was a very astute novel. But so anyway, yeah, Daniel West, and I love there's this writer named Walter Tevis, who's I think is brilliant. He wrote the book that The Man Who Fell to Earth is based on. And he also wrote the book that the Color of Money, which is nothing like the movie with Paul Newman. It's a
Oh wow.
completely different, um, and many other books. He's written like three excellent science fiction books. I think he's an incredible writer. And I like people like the hard boiled school, Raymond Chandler, James N. Cain, Horace McCoy, all these guys. They're James Salter. Who I haven't read yet at all? I know you guys have read him. And I feel like I probably would love him. The guy who wrote No Country for Old Men. What's his name?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Cormac
Yeah.
McCarthy.
Yeah,
Right.
we do.
I've
Kelby's
never
been,
read him.
wow.
And he's been
Oh,
around
okay.
a while.
Kelby, what would you recommend for his first book?
All the Pretty Horses or The Crossing,
Okay. I mean,
definitely.
you see people reading these things all the time, and I just haven't. I know he sounds really great. Yeah, sounds like
This,
my type of guy.
I think
Yeah.
especially The Crossing would be
Mhm.
you would get it, and that's one that people a lot consider one of his tamer or more mainstream, but that's just because the weirdness
Yeah.
is so deadpan that
Okay.
it kind of
I mean,
they I think too many people take it so seriously.
But he's
And
funny.
he is
It's,
funny and he's weird, and he goes to some really bleak places. But yeah, I
you like
think it's
Sutri? Have you read Sutri?
I love Sutri. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that one I
that's a
do
good
think
one.
is just straight up hilarious.
That one's funny, like straight up, actually funny. I know, yeah, Joseph, I think you would like him for sure.
I know. Somehow these people elude you, and before you know it, 20 years have gone by, and you still haven't
Is
picked
is
up.
there any other
It's
authors you've had like that, or
Don
you?
DeLillo. Don DeLillo. I love him.
Yeah, yeah.
That
They're
makes
they're.
sense. That makes a lot of sense.
What's your favorite Delillo?
Underworld.
Yeah, I read Underworld in high school and it like blew my mind. Uh, for real, like in a crazy way. I just read Ratner Star last year and I really liked that
Mm.
one.
That absurdism being I like and respect that back in the day you kind of didn't have a conscious like clear answer for that lady, because I don't think good art has a conscious clear answer when it's coming out. Like once you can meditate and brew on it a bit, you can kind of dissect where it came from. But as it's coming out, I think it just I've always the shit that is really weird and unsettling and kind of does these tonal shifts all over the place has always resonated hardest with me on a vibe level. That more straightforward, like here's the clear theme of this story type of narratives have just
Mm.
never hit me. They'll never hit me that same way as like really bizarre shit like stuff like Motorama or like the films of Takashi Miike or certain McCarthy books or whoever, like the shit that really resonates is always coming from a more absurd vibe kind of realm versus a clear cut. This is a story about this trauma or, whatever.
Hey, I really wish you were a producer, Kelby, because that's I need that type of willingness to embrace that kind of storytelling in producers, but you don't really,
Well, I want
you don't really find that.
I wanted to ask about that too, because it is kind that's why I was kind of amazed watching it too, because I was like, how did this get made? Like this is it's like
Mhm,
it I feel like yeah, a lot of people maybe
mhm,
wouldn't understand that. And that's why I wanted to read the script too, because I was like, this is so like the tones are so unique and the way they shift and just it's presented. I was like, I feel like a lot of people like especially money people maybe
yeah.
would not understand this on the page. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of insane that it even exists like at all. In my, you know what I
Well,
mean?
these things get made when someone who's got some sort of power to push the needle on something gets on the wavelength of it, is in other words, is crazy in just the right way. Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese was crazy in just the right way to appreciate After Hours. He was not the first director that was given that. Nicolas Cage was crazy in just the right way, just the right time to to gobble up that script and to go with it the way he went. And that's what facilitated the financing of that. And in the case of Motorama, of course, it was the director who was my friend, but that wasn't going to get the film made. It was this guy, Don Borchers, who was crazy in just the right way,
He's
and all he needed was him to
he
get
put
it.
the movie on YouTube for free, and it's really fascinating. Because he like replies to every single one of the comments, or not every single one. There's like 200, but a lot, and that's really fascinating because he gives a little insight, and people are like, "Wow, I remember watching this movie as a kid. I thought it was a kid's movie at 2 in the morning on Showtime, and it just I've always
Mhm.
thought about it. It's like a dream." And I was like, I could imagine that experience of just it coming on it just coming on is it's a really fast it would be a really fascinating experience because it does have the veneer of a kids movie and I think it kind of is in some ways in a
Mhm.
great way but yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked because of that, but he was on board, he saw the vision from the beginning.
Yeah, he read the other draft. I don't know if you watched that little like 6 minute thing I sent you, the YouTube of him talking about how he got the film from Warner Brothers and all, but he first had read the draft I did for Warner Brothers, and he liked it, but he couldn't buy it from Warner Brothers. They don't sell. They wouldn't have sold it to him. But he asked if there was an earlier draft, and Barry gave him the first draft, and he loved that too. And since uh, it, enough time had gone by so that he could just not he would not have to buy the Warner Brothers draft as long as nothing that I rewrote that I wrote that I added to the Warner Brothers draft was in that original draft, and it wasn't. Made sure that nothing that I wrote for the Warner. I had to do a whole rewrite for Warner. That they never made it. So I mean, it's had quite of a journey. I'm leaving out a bunch of steps. Stephen Frears, the British director, was actually involved at one point.
Who?
Um, a different producer was involved when he was involved.
Sorry,
Um,
what director did you say was involved?
oh,
Peter who?
Stephen Frears. Stephen Frears. He directed The Grifters and
Oh wow.
um, yeah, and Dangerous Liaison. Yeah,
Wow.
and
I,
many other things. Yeah,
that's
that's why I was in London writing.
he did High Fidelity. Wow. That's crazy. That's really interesting.
Right,
I
right.
know.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
I'm fat. How old were you when you wrote the first draft?
Just give me a second. Um, I guess like 26.
Cool.
And that's another thing, I would never write that now. I mean, it's like it's so strange this life and where we're at. But I was too young and stupid enough to realize that something like this would never get made. But it did get made. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't. That's what got me to even write it. I mean, you know, I just was cocky, youthful cockiness to write something that's that weird and conceptual. I would never, I'm telling you, write something. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I was recently writing something that was pretty fucking weird,
Well,
but in a way,
you just said when we started that they're all, all your
mm,
scripts are like,
yeah,
have these elements. So would you say it's like an
mm,
evolution, or you're
mm.
consciously like trying to like be like, no, I don't, I want to be, I want this to get, you know what I mean? Or a mix of both. Because that's
I mean,
fascinating to me, you know?
I think
And
I'm more conscious sometimes of elements that make producers or anyone financing films more predisposed to want to make a film with certain scripts I've written, you know. But those are all out the window when I was writing Motorama. I mean, like an R-rated film with a 10-year-old at the center of it. I don't know what I was thinking. And yet I found a couple producers that wanted to make it, and then one ultimately did take it the whole journey. Now, Don, unfortunately, I hit him up, recently with my most recent screenplay, and he did not. I was hoping, he was crazy enough at that right place to get Motorama. Would he be crazy enough for the right crazy to, grok to my latest one? And he hated it. Hey, he
really?
couldn't even understand it. Oh, it was like
Would
just
you
a
mind, can you say anything about it, or understand if
disaster.
not?
I think it's the best thing I've ever written.
Can you tell us a little bit about it, or do you want to keep it under wraps?
Hold on. Stuck on an ice cube here. Yeah, I could. It's never gonna get made. I mean, I think it's been like several years now, five. I've been just knocking my head against brick walls, and I get flaky people only coming into my life, and not anyone serious. But I've had some good reactions to it. It's called Wooden Ships. It's um, it's set in New York. It's another one of my New York movies, and it's I really feel. Well, I'll start just saying something very general, and then I'll go a little more into the weeds about texture of what it is. But I really feel like, we're living. You guys, you have to admit we're living in really fucked up times, right? It's like, I mean, just this unprecedentedly, and I'm older than you, and even for my lifetime, this is the weirdest time about like I've ever experienced. It's just like people even my age and older, we look at each other like, can you believe this is happening? Anyway, for many reasons, I won't go into. I think we all agree this is a weird ass time, and I really feel like what I'm happy about is that I think the script captures that. It's like a mirror to that. In its own, it can't say everything under the sun. No movie or work of art can, but in the way that I am able to with whatever talents I have, I think it really does capture that lightning in the bottle of maybe even looking at the beginnings of how things got sort of weird and us no people not knowing what truth is anymore. How we have that problem in the world, like when did that start? And so anyway, my script is sort of an interesting provocation about that whole thing. But the texture of it, the entertainment value, if you will, is it's got a kind of science fiction backdrop. I mean, but when I say science fiction, I don't mean like flying saucers or space lasers or anything like all the tropes. It's but
Hmm.
it's does have a science fiction premise, and also the main character is a private detective in New York. He's very corrupt. And then his wife is a character, and then the private detective's father, who's also a private detective, and his wife. So it's like those are the four main characters, and then there's many other characters, and it's a sort of family, multi-generational, if you will, kind of family saga at the heart of it. It's basically what we learn through elliptical storytelling is that there has been up to the you know beginning of the movie this alien uh, race that has been living amongst us for quite a while, and it's been great for us. It's been great. They've been really good because they're super intelligent and they've been helping us, and basically we sort of our point of attack is the day they decide to abandon us because basically the feeling is you people are so fucked up. We really don't want to help you anymore. I mean, no matter what we do, you're still so awful, and that's it. We're throwing up our hands and we're going back home. And it's like that's kind of like sort of you find that out in little dribs and drabs, and it's like starting to settle in that, oh my God, these people but they were helping with some very important things that
Mhm.
now they're kind of leaving mankind to fend for themselves, and we're not as smart as they were. So anyway, we're kind of vulnerable, but that's kind of the macro backdrop. It's a macro thing that's happening, but sort of in our little family situation, the one thing that's happened again before the movie even starts is Los Angeles has been destroyed, um, and these aliens were going to be able to help something like that be prevented. But anyway, I won't go into how that all happens. But the main character's father was living in Los Angeles, and so he decides he's going to he travels. This is not shown in the movie, but we see him as when he gets to Pennsylvania. But he takes his wife and he's going back east because he wants to confront his son. His son and they've been acrimonious for a long time, and basically what has to do with um, the father, who's much older, was one of the early investigators of the death of Marilyn Monroe. And again, this is not original. That his own theory. There are many people that have suggested that she was murdered and not a suicide. And he was one of these people that was really on the cusp of finding proof that she was actually murdered. It would have opened up a whole thing, but that kind of got squashed. And his son became a private investigator too. But his son threw his father under the bus a long time ago, like talk show appearances, and just made him look like a laughing stock. And basically, the father's been living like on the fringe, always with these truths that only he knows, but he's been discredited mostly by his own son. So anyway, that's where the confrontation that's coming is about. It's like all right, this has been long enough time now. I'm telling you, you're really corrupt now, son. And I want to tell you, that I do have the goods on this stuff. In fact, I've got documentation. Anyway, I know I'm probably making it sound really complicated, and you have to just trust me. It flows. It flows. But basically, the wife who has been sick dies in Pennsylvania. She doesn't make it, or in New Jersey. She gets almost there with the father, and then she
Wait.
dies in a hotel room. And then the first call from the father to the son is not going to be about all this conflict they've had about Marilyn Monroe's death. Instead, it's like your mom died, and the son just can't even take it. So then that becomes it takes over the mood of the film. This kind of infighting, and how this family is just it's dysfunctional, and you know he's got two sons, our main character, and the sons are on to the father, and so I'll stop there because it gets really kind of gruesome. There's some horrific stuff in it, and but it's like it really moves. I mean, it's like it's got a kind of energy of a bustling New York energy that is very proud of having. You know, I think it really crackles, and all that stuff I just told you, it's in there and more. But it's really I think my most ambitious script because the feeling of just confusion of where we're at, and how did it start, and our these people are judging us to the point where we're not even worth saving, which is kind of like this feeling I think we're all kind of getting in the world now. I think like I was ahead of my time. I mean, in a way, because I think that that feeling is creeping into our bones more and more. I mean, yeah, you've got your optimistic people, but every day if you pay attention, things are looking pretty just weird. So anyway, it's
So
called Wooden Ships, and it's Wooden Ships is I kind of took that title from this Jefferson Airplane song. That was in a way an inspiration. Back in the 1970, Paul Kantner and David Crosby and Stephen Stills wrote this beautiful song called Wooden Ships. I love the song. And it was kind of thought of by Paul Kantner as almost like a science fiction song, like a post-apocalyptic. If you listen to the lyrics, it has a kind of post-apocalyptic. So I ran with that. I just ran with, oh yeah, what if Jefferson Airplane was still around and they wanted to make a movie? So I just titled it Wooden Ships. So anyway,
that's
I'm
cool.
sorry if that sounded
No,
confusing, but
no,
No,
no.
it actually sounds a lot like
mm,
like the way that you pitch the story, it sounds like a focus and a meditation on the adjustment of priorities in such a bizarre world,
mhm,
because that is like, I love that there's such a high concept going on in the background, and obviously not having read the script or anything, it's but the way that you described it, it's like all this high concept, like elaborate conspiratorial shit going on in the background involving the whole world. And then the focus of these main characters is like it all comes to like it all hones in on this one, like your mom died. And that's one of those things.
mm,
It's like no matter what city is burning, no matter who the president is, no matter what is being traded back and forth, it's like any of us on a human level is like, hey, your mom died, or hey, I ran over the cat this morning, sorry. Or like that's one of those like instant realignments, and one of those just like universal like tethers that we can all feel is like, damn, no matter where I stand on anything or no matter what is happening, you're you can feel hopeless turning on the news, and then you can be like, oh shit, like your whole world can be really rocked, like your world, not the world you live in, but your world, by
And that
something like that.
definitely. And I think it would hit because back to Motorama, if you were a kid who grew up in any sort of like with any sort of parental neglect, that movie's gonna hit. And so because it captures it in the way I was talking about earlier, but that sounds similar, that anchor, there's these sci-fi or outlandish things going on in the back, but you have the anchor of this relationship between the father and the son, and then finding about the mom. I think it sounds really good. Yeah, really good.
well, Don Borchers, and this is only one person, so I'm not getting all broken up about this terrible criticism by the guy who produced Motorama. But
Yeah.
what I do is with something people do in books all the time, and they certainly have done it in movies. But this just caused Don to kind of just get really flustered. I cross cut. I have something happening over here, and then I
Yeah.
go to something completely different. And I trust that audience is going to be able to kind of go back to the thing they saw for and go, oh yeah, that connects to that, which we do all the time. Don couldn't get with that. He was like, no, Joe, the reason I like Motorama is because you're with that one person every single moment. And it made me realize that's the thing that Don needed to have gotten behind Motorama, and this script doesn't do that, so he couldn't get with it. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? You get confused? Like, it's not confusing. It's like simple film grammar. People do it in books. Every book does that. I mean, anyway, I couldn't believe it. You never know what you're gonna hear, but that's what Don's. Since we were talking about Don a moment ago, that's why I didn't fly with him. And I don't have any other producers that I have reached to that are smart or ballsy, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. You know who I would have loved to have met is the guy Jerome Hellman. He produced Midnight Cowboy. I mean, to make
Oh,
that
Oh,
film,
we talked about Midnight
we're
Cowboy
big fans
recently.
of Midnight
Big
oh,
fan.
Cowboy.
The
Yeah.
really?
novel too. Have you read the novel?
That's a great novel.
It's
It's a great
excellent
novel.
novel.
Yeah.
And there's also a nonfiction book that came out a couple years ago. It's called, I think it's called like Midnight Cowboy something, and it's about the making of the film and the novel, and it's amazing. The writing of the novel, and it's very, very good. One of
I
my
read that.
favorite. You read it? Did you like it?
Yes, I read, and I saw they have a documentary that's kind of like a companion piece to that book that I saw a couple years ago too. That
Cool.
I mean, I'm in anything Midnight Cowboy, I'm there. Yeah. Um, he also, James Leo Hurley, he wrote what was the name of them? It was also made into a movie.
Yeah.
All
I
Fall Down. All Fall Down. Right? Is
did you
that
read that? The All Fall Down. Yeah, that was his first novel.
that was a great book too. And they made that into a
I haven't read
movie.
that one.
Yeah.
It's good.
Fantastic.
Motor,
Fantastic.
actually, Midnight Cowboy, the beginning when Joe Buck is leaving, it has somewhat Motorama vibes in that he's like these strange characters, and he's like, I guess maybe more in the novel a little bit, but because they don't show it as much in the movie as far as I can remember. But that's kind of interesting, actually. Yeah, that's a great book. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
the producer of that would be like one of your dream
That's
producers
the type of guy. I mean, I've seen
type of
interviews
guy.
with Jerome Hellman. It's like that's my type of guy. Or, there's this British
True.
producer. He's he's got to be very old now, but his name is Jeremy Thomas. He would also be my type of producer, but I don't even know if he's still alive. But he made some incredible. He made like Don't Look Now or a lot of Nicholas Rogue stuff. Or
Whoa.
he's produced the guy, Sexy Beast, Jonathan
Wow.
Glazer. I mean that's a ballsy film. I mean,
It
and to
is.
make
Yeah, for
that,
sure.
that producer is named Jeremy Thomas, and I wish I'm sure I don't know. It's like it has to do with it's a different world now. I mean, people just want cash grabs. I mean,
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about like I have so many questions that I just, like the writing, but also just career wise, because your filmography is really fascinating and I think really inspiring that, you feel the writer behind the movies. And I just, I don't know. I
mm,
have general questions like how did you deal with people? Like I'm sure there were instances when it did not go smoothly as Motorama and people were like, I don't know what the fuck this is, or like I don't get like how did you have moments of like that in your career, like situations like that?
the story of my life. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
m
And
most of my experience is that it's like I don't get it. I mean, those four words I've heard more than anything. I don't get it. I made it. I should show you. I should send you a link. I made a short film 10 years ago. It's actually very realistic. It's not fantasy. It's brutal reality. Um, I love my short film, and nobody likes it. And my most common reaction is, "I don't get it. I don't get what there is not to get." That's
yeah,
the thing. It's like I
you
never
should send
get
it.
what there is not to get. Like, what is it you don't get? I mean, it's like right there. So I don't know. So I was like happy. I'm happy with it. I made a feature called Trafficking. That's
I saw
very
that. I wanted
weird.
to watch it, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I have it on YouTube, and I can understand why people don't get that one. It's really weird. It's like it's trippy. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted to make, and I'm very proud of it. But you know, it's uh, it's like a David Lynch level kind of confusion. If you're not into David Lynch, like Lost Highway or what happened. I mean, I get it, but that one I could understand when people say I don't get it, but not my short
And
films. That
you said you directed that one?
I did. I
What
did.
I imagine a lot of writers want to be directors too, or whatever. It's like the classic, like I don't really know. I can't speak on any of that. But like, what is your relationship to directing in terms of writing? Like,
Mhm.
obviously, like how. I'm not gonna ask like, do you prefer one over the other? And I imagine if you're right, they're very intertwined. But like, what are some things about directing that you liked? And if you could have directed all the movies you wrote that like are known and produced, would you have? I guess is my question.
Um, no. I mean, I even said in my the DVD extra that comes with Vampire's Kiss, um, I said that I was actually the guy that was supposed to direct Vampire's Kiss, but I explained how once the ball got rolling, I kind of thought that I didn't want to direct it anymore because, it to me it was very painful, tortured kind of script, and writing it, I got something out of my system, and I wanted to move on.
You didn't want to
So
go back to that
I
wound.
didn't want to have to relive it in a
Yeah.
directorial capacity, even or anything. And I had to call Barry Schultz and tell them that, and they didn't like hearing that because that means they had a that could have
Wow.
screwed up the whole project. I did put it in jeopardy, but
Did you
that's
already
how
have
badly I wanted to.
like people attached? Like,
Yeah, Nicholas was attached,
wow. Wow.
and then he actually, because I dropped out, Nicholas dropped out. But then a little time went by, and he came back to it anyway. He liked the script that much. Thank God,
That's
because
really
then
cool.
I would have felt
That's re
awful.
Man, that's really fascinating that you knew
Yeah.
enough, knew yourself and the world, like you knew enough to know that that would like, I get, I don't mean to overstep, but like fuck you up emotionally, you know what I mean? Like that's really fascinating and
Yeah.
interesting. Like I don't think most people would do that. That says a lot about you as like, I don't know, that's really interesting and cool, honestly. That you were like, no, I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. Like you chose not to do it because knew that's you knew. Like that's very interesting.
I mean, look, thank God it worked out. Otherwise, you know, it would have been a horrible thing to live with. The whole thing's maybe falling apart because of that, or some bad director screwing it up. But Bob Bierman was
Yeah.
good. He did it. He did it. He did it right. And oh,
How involved are you with each? I guess just because of the three that I've seen, like Motorama, After Hours, and Vampire Kiss, how involved were you with like the direction of those? Not the direction, but I guess
yeah,
the production. You know what I mean?
not at all.
Really?
Not at all.
Did you like
I
go to
remember
the sets of any of them?
I
I
went to
mean,
the.
very.
I one thing that pops to mind is in Motorama. I
You
went
sent
to
that awesome
Arizona.
picture.
Um, they had a gas station set that had these posts on either side of the pumps, and I remember the art production designer came up to me and said, "Oh, there's just enough room for us to hang a banner here. But what should the banner say? What should the banner say? We have, but we're shooting in like 10 minutes. You better come up with something so we could put up a banner." And I remember came up with be fulfilled, be
Be
fulfilled. I
fulfilled.
thought it
Yeah,
was,
I saw that
yeah,
today when I rewatched it, and it like stuck
yeah.
out to me. Because I was like, that would be a good tattoo, like or something like it. That I don't know. That's so you just
The
came with that
character's
on the
name is
spot.
perfect too. Phil.
Character's name is I got the character's name actually from John Cassavetes' character in Husbands. That's one of my favorite films, and John Cassavetes is a very meaningful person in my many art director filmmakers' lives, but he certainly was, and that was the first film of his I ever saw was Husbands, and John Cassavetes' character name is Gus. That's where that comes from. But it happens to fit really nicely for for the gestalt of the movie. Gus. But anyway, I was answering your question. That was a moment where I was involved in, obviously, for that banner for the production, but nothing else. Nothing else. I was just not around. I mean,
I don't know
yeah.
anything about. I've never been involved with the
Mm.
production of a film or anything. So, is that was it because you didn't want to be, or because you already did your part, of the process, or what?
You know, um, there's a book by William Goldman, Adventures in the Screen
I've
Trade.
read it. Yeah.
I think he says it in this book. He says for a writer going to a film set of one of his screenplays getting made, the first day is the most exciting day in your life. The second day is the most boring day in your life. Um, and then every day afterwards is boring. And he's right. I mean, it's kind of boring. If you have nothing to do on a film set, everyone is doing something, and everything is taking a long time. Film shoots go really slow. You're just waiting around. I mean, there's nothing to do. No one is going to talk to you. They're too busy. And then they'll get a shot off, and then the whole process starts again with another camera setup that takes forever because they've got to get it right. And I saw that was true, so I was bored, frankly.
Hmm.
Why screenwriting? Was it always screenwriting? Is that
Yeah.
has that always been your medium of choice or
Yeah, I took a couple forays into prose, but yeah, the very first creative writing was in the screenplay format, I guess. I mean, I guess I didn't really start writing till, I was taking writing classes in film school. Um, I wrote a science fiction short story in college, but I didn't keep up with that. But then since then, I have written prose. Um, you know, I wrote some short stories, and most recently, I wrote like 90 pages of a novel. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm gonna just sort of take an interruption and a kind of like full disclosure. I mean, since we're getting to know each other, but I'm in a little bit of an existential quandary. And this is the reason why it's very real. But I had a heart attack very recently. Seriously, I almost died. And it was in February. I was in the hospital for like a month. Um, okay, so I had complications. This is a horrible month. So the second I came to in the ICU after the surgery, I'm telling you, my first thought was, that's it with film. I'm done. I can't do this anymore because, I really, really felt it was not my first heart attack. It was not my first rodeo. And the first time, my girlfriend at the time said, "Joe, get out of the film business. Look what it's doing to you. You keep having these horrible, frustrating people just torturing you." And I didn't listen. And then I had another one, that recent one. And the first thought, and that was fairly recently, was like, "This is it. Go back to maybe that novel you were writing or something else." I don't know where I'm at now. Now it's like been a few weeks. I've been sort of recovering. I've been getting my strength back. I'm never going to forget that month in the hospital, believe me. But I don't want to ever go through anything like that again. So I'm really not sure what I'm doing. I mean, it's like, screenwriting. I was writing a screenplay, got like halfway through it before the heart attack. Now I don't know that I even want to finish it. I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, because even if as I was telling you, I was alluding to how weird it is. It's something that would never get made in today's climate. So why even bother? Now, when I was younger, that wouldn't bother me. I would say, I don't care. I'm going to write it anyway. And now, I don't know. I'm in a different place, and I'm not really sure what the hell I'm going to do. I mean, I've got scripts out there. As a matter of fact, a couple weeks after I got out of the hospital, this director from Argentina I know called me and he said he wants to make a script of mine that he knows, down in Mexico. So I have nothing against that. I mean, it's written already. I don't have to do anything. It was set in LA, but it would work in Mexico. It would work in Mexico City. So, and I've got other scripts that, if they ever found the right home, especially the one I just told you about, I don't have to do anything except, well, I have to knock on doors and meet these creepy people that I have. And it's just, they torture you.
What do you
You wouldn't
what do
believe
you what do you mean by that? Just like producers, people involved, or
people that they don't read. I
they
mean,
don't?
like
Yeah.
nobody reads. I mean, like you just can't get a script read. I mean, it's like incredible. No, so how is someone who writes scripts supposed to write scripts when the thing that has to be done with the script when it's done is for it to be read, and that doesn't happen anymore? What do you do? I mean, it's like absurd. That's absurd. But that's my. I'm going to tell you one story. Okay, I'm going to tell you this one story. This will make this. You won't believe it, but just this will give you an idea of what this world I've been flopping around in is like.
Please.
The wooden ship script that I told you about. I thought of a director from a film of his that I saw that was great, great, really great. And
Can you name the
I
director?
no, I don't want to. I'm not sure I
That's
should
valid.
name. So I was watching. I swear to God, this everything I'm going to say is totally the truth. I saw YouTube on my phone that was him being interviewed at a film festival for this film. I think the moderator was Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith said to him, first question was like, "So tell us what got you into filmmaking." And without missing a beat, he goes, "Oh, After Hours. That film made me want to make movies."
No
So,
shit.
I sort of sat up and paid attention. Like, whoa, wow, it's interesting. A couple weeks later, I swear to God, I saw another interview with the same director at another film festival. And the film he made has Nicolas Cage in it, the one that I liked. And
Mhm.
Nicolas Cage was on the panel with him. And so the moderator asked him this time, he says, "All right, what made you pick Nicolas Cage for your movie?" So, of course, Vampire's Kiss. It's like my favorite Nicolas Cage movie. Okay, so here I am sitting at home watching this guy twice without missing a beat, talk about how two of his favorite movies that changed his life were movies I wrote. So like I got to get to this guy. This is like unbelievable. Okay, so I remember talking to a manager I knew at uh, Zero Gravity Entertainment. And I was saying, "Oh, Alicia, I wish I could get to this guy. I don't have any access." And she said, "Well, try Instagram. You'd be surprised. These people sometimes are available." I did. And he was there on Instagram. So I was like, "Oh," so I did a little message to him, very brief, but to the point. "Hi, I'm Joe Minion. You apparently like my work. I wrote a new script. I'd love you to read it. Here's my info." He calls me that night,
Wow.
and we have this like 45-minute film bonding conversation. Unbelievable. Just like what you dream of. Like, wow, buddies, like we love the same films. And he said to me on this phone call, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually speaking to you. You're my hero." Okay, well, great. This is wonderful. I to be connected. It was so easy. I'll send you the script. That was 2 years ago. He's never read my script. He's
That
never read my
seems
script. He even
that
would
seems like
call
the
me just to chat. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "I haven't read it, but can we just chat? I feel like talking." And, I put up with it for a few months. And then I just was like not having it anymore. But this is a reality, guys. This is insane. If anyone would have told me 5 years ago that the guy that I connected with, who apparently loved two of my films, he said it publicly, and I would have a great phone call with him, wouldn't even get around to reading. I wouldn't have believed it. But this is this brutal reality, and I have many other stories like that. But I was just telling you the most low hanging fruit one of them. Okay, so this is my life, and I just like this is causing me a heart attack. It's like this is crazy.
How do you feel about the stories that you're compelled to tell? Do you feel like once they're out of your system that they're out there and that's good and come what may of it? Or do you feel like you are at a point where if the screenplays aren't getting made, then something needs to actually be out there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, that's a really good question. It's kind of deep. I mean, it's almost like I'm not going to tell you the details, but I should be dead right now. But the fact that I'm because of this heart thing is pretty horrible. But I'm not. And then sort of like, yeah, you start asking questions like, well, since I'm alive, that's got to mean something. It probably doesn't mean anything, but it's like you're like, all right, I'm alive, so it's got to mean I'm supposed to still be trying to get these scripts going or something. It's like, but, but, but. paradoxically, it is doing that I think might be causing me heart attacks here. So, you sort of do wonder, like, this is my chosen medium. And what do you do? Like, if someone's left-handed and their left hand gets chopped off, I guess they have to turn to be right-handed. And so, I could go back to this novel, but who are we kidding? I mean, you guys are novelists. I mean, I don't know what you guys go through, but I just know that is a world. Every art world, music, everything is just filled with gatekeepers and nobody makes money. And it's like very sort of curated. And I don't know, man. I mean, I don't, I know that going in. I mean, basically people maybe have to self-publish and then they
Yeah,
lose.
but
I know writers who have self-published and, my
That's
friend Donald Mann,
basically that's
that's
basically
cool.
what
yeah.
we do
Yeah.
collectively
Hmm.
is push each other's work and go to festivals and like if I everything I write, I just drop and just try to hawk my wares at the flea market, the fucking whatever book festival, or send them to Nicky if he's doing something up in Philly or wherever, and we just to get it out there. But I guess since we have that compulsion to just drop it, like don't even shop it around, that this if I didn't know how to drop it, then I would probably just be cool with it existing. I did it and it's here and I
But
could
but
print it out or
existing
something.
existing like just for you and not trying to get it out there because not to be like, oh, if a tree falls in the forest, like, does it exist just because you've written it? I mean, yes, of course it
Right.
does, but does it really if no one else even like knows it? I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Kelby, but that's kind of like Joseph with like these scripts, which are even more in that realm where like if it doesn't get made, no one sees it. Well, at least with a book, you write it and it's
Mhm.
done, and the hard part is getting it out there. And but
Mhm.
with the book, with a movie, a production, it's like it's so obviously like it is just so fascinating to me. And I think you should finish your novel, man. I bet it would be really, really, really great. And I feel like screenwriting to novel is a good jump. And you already write like a novelist, kind of, or like a writer, right? You know what I'm saying? Like at least in the films, because um, I don't think you could say that about every filmmaker, every screenwriter.
Mhm.
In my opinion, what do you think, Kelby?
No, I've read, I mean, I have read a decent amount of scripts and they're like,
Yeah.
um, I'm actually compelled to finish reading scripts that are written like they're written. Like you can
Mhm.
see the shit not because it's telling you like it's kind of telling the director what kind of camera cuts to do, but you can see it because of the prose of the screenplay. It
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
is painting images in your mind.
I read a random draft of After Hours that I found online, Joseph, and I really liked it. Like I don't know what the what stage it was or what you had to cut it in it, but like reading and it was very similar to the finished movie. But I thought it was really good written too, you know what I mean? Because there is a difference, like obviously you're reading it than not watching it, and I wanted to see what that felt like, and I liked it.
Well,
Just to say that,
when
like I
mm.
think like the writing was like good, it
I
felt, you
know
know what I'm
that
saying?
one of the things that was what's so user friendly about After Hours, and I yeah, there's nothing I can do about this. This is just the way people, audiences are, producers like things to be. The main character is like, he's not very complicated. He's an everyman, and I couldn't stay with that. I guess maybe Gus is the closest to that in a weird way. But basically, what as I grew, I would tend to make these, protagonists that were psychologically complicated. They were more that is novelistic. I mean, that's kind of what we want.
Mm.
Um, I think that's what it's for, is to kind of get into the human psyche. But that's when people started then, no thanks. We like things. nice and simple and not complicated. It was at the beginning of my long, decades long period of we don't get it. It's complicated, and you can't win because I can't go back. You know, so anyway, you try to there's different ways to skin a cat, I guess, and um, you try to maybe make up for that by having an overdose of something very sensationalistic that could take you over the hump.
Mm.
Um, it's not an exact science, but I remember I remember when I got signed on to William Morris. First, I had an agent, wasn't with William Morris. And then, as it happens, they go to bigger agencies, and she then became with William Morris. And around that time, I flew to LA and met her at her office at William Morris, and I was greeted. The head of the company came over to me and he said, because After Hours had just been out, and he said, "See that? You're a living like representation example of how you could do something completely original and wild, and you follow your nose creatively, and you could get it made, and that's the reality of Hollywood, and that's what we're all about, and all that stuff." And I remember thinking then, well, it's nice of you, you saying that, but that's not going to keep up. That's exactly not what's not going to happen. Um, and it didn't. I mean, basically, my whole experience has been one where people were not really interested in what I was doing next, or what I was thinking, or planning on writing, or what I wrote. That was it. Basically, Hollywood experiences. We want you to do what we want to do. Pretty much. That was by and large my experience when I lived in Hollywood. And so I went ahead and just made my own movie, Trafficking, on my own. That weird movie I told you about. But that was just bullshit. I mean, but it's all bullshit. People just say things. Yeah.
How
Anyway,
did Trafficking come together? That was the first thing you directed?
no, I had directed a movie for Roger Corman. And
Wow.
that was a great experience for me, a great learning experience because,
What movie was that?
as a film, I'm very proud of that one too. It's called Daddy's Boys. Daddy's
Oh,
Boys.
cool.
Yeah, and it's a Depression era gangster picture. It's really funny, and also, frankly, you know, uh,
I tried to find this one too, actually, and I could not
yeah.
find it. Uh, so sorry, go ahead.
I had a lot of fun making it. But but then it was later that trafficking came about because I was very smart. I knew how to take advantage of a situation wherein it was at the end of my tenure in LA. I mean, I lived there, and I sort of soaked up what LA living was like, and I kind of like creatively got juiced enough to write this feature. But I was living in this apartment complex. It was called Crotona. It's actually sort of famous. It was like where all these like mystical people like Krishnamurti lived, and um, they had monks there and all this stuff back in the 30s and 40s, and it's still there. But basically, when I was living there, it was all these young wannabe fill in the blanks of types of filmmaking. Want to be producers, want to be sound people, want to be actors. Just all these people ripe to work on a movie. They were my neighbors. They were my friends. I see them at the pool. So I just said, "Hey, everyone, let's make a movie." And I used my apartment complex like a studio. Um, and I needed very little money because they were my friends. And sure enough, people lent me their apartments, people acted in it, people held boom, and they were my buddies. And it was a very, very good use of that apartment complex. So I was able to make Trafficking. Yeah. And I had to make it that way. That script, there was no way in a million years um, it would have been produced by some established entity. I had to make it uh, in my own very low budget way. It didn't go anywhere. I what can I say? It didn't get picked up. I was hoping I'd get it in the can and the distributor would maybe go, wow, this is wild. Some, very small distributor, but that never happened. They all wanted stars in it. Doesn't have stars, that whole rap, but whatever. I made it. It's on YouTube, but it doesn't have the best visual quality. And there's the reason for that, but whatever. That was a case of just I had to get something out of my system again. I did it. In this case, I wrote and directed this movie. We shot it in 2 weeks, which is how long the Roger Corman movie took. 2 weeks. And the Roger Corman movie though. I really like it's silly. Again, it's got one of these like a silly surface, but it's actually quite you know um subversive. It's a subversive movie that no one saw.
What do you think
Uh,
about the like would you ever work with an independent filmmaker? Is um I guess is like the money behind the project like a big motivator, or is it kind of just getting certain things made in the right way as
Yeah, I
long
mean,
as
I don't care. I think smart, creative people could do a lot with a little money. You need something, I mean, even in trafficking, you need something. It was in the five figures,
how
but
did how
did it.
did how did you get that money together? Like I'm sure at that point because this is post After Hours and post Motorama and post also Vampire's Kiss, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so was it just kind of like you had a bit of a cachet of like people you
I had
knew?
a
I know.
rich, I had a rich friend. I had a friend. One of the producers had comes from money. She was a friend, and I don't know, she might have even come to me saying, "Oh, I got some money burning a hole in my pocket. What do you say we make a movie?" I don't remember how that if I came to her or she came to me, but I had another producer. I had two producers. She was the money person,
And
and then I had my friend Ava.
was she involved in like film at all, or was she yet? And
I
how did
never,
that go?
yeah, no, she
Uh,
just wrote the checks.
so
She
she
wrote the
was a pro
checks.
Did she have any creative involvement since she put money into it?
She found our director of photography, Charles Rose. That I remember. She found Charles Rose, but I think she was on the set, as I remember, one day, just like I was on one day at Vampire's Kiss.
Mhm.
Yeah, she came one day. She found it probably boring too. Um,
But she kind
but
of she
that's
gave you money and left you alone to make the movie, and that seems like really cool. Like seems like a good friend.
yeah, yeah. Well, we were very good friends.
Yeah,
We were
that's
very good
awesome.
friends. Yeah, she was like my landlady when I first moved to LA. I mean, I had known her years, like a good 5 years before we decided to embark on this project. And my other producer was just as important because she was the line producer. She made everything. She gathered the other people. So a lot of people you have to kind of get together, and she was good at that. And and then I found, of course, my own bunch. So God, I was so young, but it's like, I mean, it was like again, like I'm kind of crazy. I mean, I'm a little crazy myself. I mean, this movie it's a weird movie, but I actually feel like somehow I have to get
I saw
weird.
that it looked like it was written by it says written by someone else or co-written, and that's interesting. What was that process?
It wasn't. It wasn't. I don't
It
know where
wasn't?
you're looking at. I don't know where
Oh,
you're looking at.
it said when I looked it up it said one second. I just had it pulled up. Um Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Trafficking
it was
or Daddy's Boys.
Daddy's
That
Boys.
Daddy's Boys was written by somebody else.
Oh, okay. That I had the
That's
two mixed up.
anyway.
That's interesting. What was how did so as a writer, what was it like working from a script you didn't originally write?
I had the most. Daryl and I were friends. I had made a short film with him. He's the guy who was the actor also in Daddy's Boys. Let me tell you, I never laughed so much in my life. We kind of like were up all night writing the script. I've never laughed so hard for so long
That's
writing
really
that
cool.
script. Working on. I've never laughed so hard. He made me laugh. Oh my God, I've never laughed so hard in my life making that movie. It was great. It was great. He was like one of the funniest people I've ever met.
That you don't have a link of it anywhere you could send us
Yeah,
for Daddy's Voice?
I can send you that. I got it. It's on YouTube.
Cool.
I'll send you that.
Amazing.
I'll send you the shorter film that nobody likes. It's okay if you don't like it either. I'm so used to that. But
I'm
I'm
so
just it's a
intrigued.
matter as a
Yeah,
point
same.
of it's a point of curiosity. Just I have nothing to lose at this point. I mean, I'm over it. But anyway,
I
I'll send it to you,
I
Tim.
I'm
I
very
had a
intrigued. Yes,
I had a
please.
question about something really interesting. That okay, so have do you see like new movies much or interested
Not
in
much.
um
Not much. Not now.
have
Once
you
in a
heard of
while.
that and it's pretty big right now, that movie Obsession?
Heard of it? You haven't seen it? Heard of it?
So I watched it last week or something, and then since I had emailed you and you I knew you were coming on, I was just trying to watch everything I could watch, but I saw everything except Motorama before, but I watched your Tales from the Crypt episode, and it is the exact same plot as Obsession, like that, like basically like that it's crazy. It's so crazy. I want to know a little bit more about that process and how and also the Amazing Stories one, which I can't find anywhere. But what that process
It's
was like,
on
because I
Daily
was also
Motion. The Amazing Stories, the Mirror Mirror episode.
oh did you watch
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Oh
good.
fuck,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, well, I hate to burst your bubble. You just have this image of probably what it's like, and it ain't like that. I wrote several different.
No. Wait, what do you think? I think it's like I just
I
mean
think
it's
you think
like.
that it was fun or exciting,
Oh
and
no
it
no
was just
no!
a
I'm just
job,
saying that that episode is has the
right?
exact same plot as
Oh,
this movie right now called Obsession, where
all
it's
right, I
like the
believe you.
love
Yeah.
potion, and it's just that it's just kind of crazy. So, but yeah, but I did want to ask, like, yeah, if that was like what that experience was like, because it was written with like someone who I swear I've seen that name, like Mankiewicz, who's isn't that like a fairly famous family of screenwriters? Like if it was relation to that.
Yeah, Herman Mankiewicz was a famous wrote Citizen Kane.
Right. So in
Uh,
relation to him or no?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I never met anybody named Mankiewicz.
Oh, I thought on the I thought on the fucking Tales from the Crypt episode it was co-written.
It might have been. Look, what happened with that particular project was they took it out of my hand. I mean, the way television works is the showrunners that control everything. They control everything, and they do farm out episodes to writers. Like that
Yeah,
one got farmed
it
out to
says
me.
it says John Mankiewicz and Joseph Minion.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
but
I
they
assumed
rewrite
wrongly.
things. It's all about you take the money and run. I mean, I did my job. I wrote one or two drafts, whatever contractually I was obligated to deliver. But
Sure.
then it gets changed, and they again I liked what I wrote, but apparently they wanted to rewrite it, and honestly I never saw it even. I never even saw it. I never saw anything that has my name on it for television.
Yeah,
I
I was
never
gonna
even saw.
ask.
Never. But I know how it works. I know I have the inside scoop on how it works, and those things were just about taking the money and running. I was not naive about it. They change things. They have certain, I don't know, they things they don't like about my style, or things that they have to kind of get in, and whatever. They don't bother you. They just give you money, They did their job, which was to farm it out to you. It's a different world. Um,
Television.
Honestly, I didn't really if I really wanted to, I never really pursued it. I mean, there was a period where I tried pitching some weird um pilots, but that was before Sopranos. Pre-Sopranos, television was very conservative, and you could imagine me with my crazy ideas that didn't really fly. That's when I had the occasion to pitch some stuff, but nowadays it'd be like, probably great, but I missed that boat.
And that
But
was the
yeah,
same,
television,
the same.
I would work for television, if it was, I have no reach into that world.
Yeah.
But it is better now. It is pretty good now.
But was that the same process for Amazing Stories? I would imagine, or
No, your agent calls you and says Steven Spielberg called us and wants to hire you to do an amazing story, and this is the premise, and then you write it, and then that's it. You get your check, and I was never on set. I never saw it. I didn't care. Um, that was that was my experience. I'm not saying it's every writer's experience.
yeah.
I just didn't care about television. I just didn't. I mean,
When they
I
gave
don't
you
sound
the
like
when they gave you the premise, how much of a like what it was just like the guy? Because I read the Wikipedia for that one. It's like novelist, like mirror, like someone's haunting him from the mirror. But is that what they say to you, or then how much do you go from there, and what's your process with like taking that initial idea and then turning it to something you actually want to write?
I remember exactly. It was Steven Spielberg actually got on the phone, called me, and he told me some things he wants in the episode. He said with the basic, the garroting kind of thing, um uh and some sort of dark night of the soul he wants the character to go through. And it was general. It was pretty open-ended, leaving me a lot of wiggle room to do what I wanted. I remember that. And, I think we had a 20-minute phone conversation. I said, okay, Mr. Spielberg. And I just started writing, and I delivered it. I never saw the episode, and that's that. That was my experience. It's not that exciting. Um,
Just
I
get
mean,
that bag.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess being on the phone with Steven Spielberg for 20 minutes was the most exciting part of it. He seemed very nice. Yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah.
I want to show you, and if it turns into anything you'd be interested in a connection with, then absolutely we'd make that happen. But some friends of ours made this movie called Mass State Lottery for like 8 grand. And I if I didn't know the whole process, I wouldn't fucking believe it cost 8 grand to make it. It's
Yeah.
one of my really one of my favorite movies. I think it'd be up. You would at least be interested, even if you hated it. It's definitely coded in that same weird, absurd vibe
It's an
Uh,
achievement. It's insane.
Send me the link. Yeah,
for sure. Yes.
Sweet.
Well, Joseph.
8,000. That's
Yeah, and
amazing.
these
It's
days,
like,
yeah, it was like
yeah.
between 2019, 2022 that they made this shit, and I just
Yeah, it looks
if I
amazing.
didn't know the story, I would not. I'd be like, "You're fucking full of shit." There's no fucking way. But yeah,
Oh.
it's incredible.
Okay, well, I guess we're winding it up. I mean, this has really been great. You guys are very easy to talk to. I found myself kind of, I wasn't even in that good a mood today. But once we got going, I sort of started blabbing, I guess, and it was uh,
That's
it was
awesome.
fun. It was really good.
I do
Really,
want to ask one more question. If you could give us a little bit about what the novel you were writing is about. If you want to talk about it at all, or if not, I totally understand. If it's too, you want to keep it in.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, it doesn't matter if even describing it won't give you any idea what it reads like. It's it's set in the depression. It's about two people.
you said
Um,
it was set during
who,
the Depression?
yeah, yeah. It's set in Hollywood. I mean, it starts out in Northern California, but quickly gets down to Hollywood, where these two protagonists both fucked up people, guy and girl, young guy and young girl, get involved in big trouble. And he's more fucked up in a way. And if there's any big obstacle to me writing it well, it's in me figuring out how is she going to help cure him of his fucked upness, because that's what would have to kind of, you know, motor the whole plot. I think would be, why were these people together unless he senses there's a reason for him to be around her, because maybe she's having a good effect on him or something.
Interesting.
And I have to be together myself enough to be able to kind of have her help him out of his psychological hole. I don't even know if I could do, but that's a challenge I've set up for myself. But it's also satirical, and it's again it's funny too. There's some really funny stuff in it. I can't stop that, but it's very uh
Wh- Um,
yeah, dark. It's very dark.
are you when you are actually writing, or what's your what are you like a very disciplined writer? You have set, I write from blank to blank, or are you more of like inspiration type? You do when it hits you, or
Uh,
what's your method practically?
well, I go through long gaps between projects, but if I start a project, then I will be pretty disciplined about that project till
Mm,
completion, which is a problem with having had this heart attack and then this big interruption. It's hard for me to get back into even this novel I just talked about. I mean, it's like Stephen King used to say, write every day, don't miss a single day. And I totally know what he means. If you miss a day or more, and the more days you miss, it's not impossible, but it's just harder to get back in. So that's why I would advise just sticking with something once
for
you
sure.
start it. But there'll be plenty of time between projects where I'm sort of, wool gathering. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
I'm the same way with once I have it, I may go a bit without a project, but once I have a project, I try to stick through it to completion.
And
For
there's
sure.
some that pop up and then
Yeah,
Mm,
dissipate while you
yeah.
knock something else
yeah.
out and then you come
Or
back
turn into
around.
something, like mutate into something else or something sometimes. Which yeah. Um well
Joseph,
thank
really, really glad that you're still here with us. Uh, I don't think you came back from that for no reason.
definitely not.
um, so and yeah, I mean, I feel a kindredness
Uh,
with your art and talking with you. I really
uh,
appreciate your time.
Yes, thank
And
you so much. Anytime you want to come back to if you have anything out you want to promote or just, want to talk again, you're welcome back anytime, man.
all right, and we owe each other a couple of links to things, and I'll get to mine, you get to yours, and have a great rest of the weekend.
You
hell
too,
yes, you
Joseph.
too. Thank you.
Yeah, and good luck with all of your health stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, a
Getting
lot of follow-ups, as you could imagine.
I'd imagine, yeah, but good luck. I hope everything's
Okay.
okay and that you get back into your book.
All right. Okay, man. Good to talk. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nice meeting you, man.
Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Bye bye.